Okay, so today we're here for Colleen Hoover, Take It or Leave It. I'm going to read 3 Colleen Hoover books, and in actuality, I already have read 3 Colleen Hoover books. This is me afterwards. I never did an intro piece. So I had read It Ends With Us, the first chapter for try a chapter sort of thing that I did, and I enjoyed it, but at the same time, I was kind of like, what is going on with Colleen Hoover? I don't really know what this author is about. I keep hearing about her, and her books seem to be all over the place, but they're all marketed as romances, which some of them don't really seem like they would be romances. So I kind of wanted to go into this trying to figure out, who is she? Do I like her? Which of her books do I like? And would I go back into it? I'm thinking this is going to be a series, maybe for some other authors. If you have any suggestions of authors you want me to do, I'd be very interested to know. You can always look at my Goodreads and see who I haven't read from or who I have, just for me to try out a new author. The links in the bio of this, down there. I'm going to be reading It Ends With Us. I will explain to you in the actual video what these books are about. It Ends With Us. I will give you like a sentence of like just a weird thing. So this is the one that I was like, is this a romance? Because it is like very heavily like trigger warning. All of her books, trigger warning, all of her books. Go look it up. Like I can't even sit here and tell you. Like, you should definitely look up trigger warnings if that's, yeah. Anyways, this is heavily abusive, and I was like, how is this romance? I don't really get it before I read it. The next one I'll be reading is Ugly Love. This is far more romance. Like, this is a romance book. And then Verity. And this one, I was like, this is a romance, It says romantic thriller. I don't know. Stay tuned and find out what I thought about all 3 of these. Yeah, so I am going to, next clip, be reading this one. Enjoy. Okay, so we're reading It Ends With Us. And I decided that I would go further with this and just, so as you know, I've already read the first chapter of It Ends With Us. I'm going to be going from there. I had kind of started the second chapter. I'm very interested to see where this goes and understanding what is it about Colleen Hoover that makes people dance. What makes people want to, what is it? What is the thing? What is the Colleen Hoover thing? So that's what we're exploring in this episode of Rachel Reads Books. Nothing's really happened. This book is about this girl, Lily, who is trying to kind of figure out what she wants to do with her life and what could make her happy. Her dad has just passed away, and he was a piece of shit. Trigger warning, this book is filled with abuse. So I don't know if there are any other trigger warnings yet. I'll try not to spoil anything as well and speak cryptically. You know what I mean? Cryptic speaker. Or if I do, I'll put spoiler up. I don't think I'll have to. Okay, so we have Lily who's on a roof, and she meets Ryle, one of the worst names. I'm sorry if your name's Ryle. I'm not meaning to offend you, but it's not offensive towards you. It's offensive towards your parents, because that is not a good name. It's like, why would you change the K in Kyle to be an R and put Ryle? It just sounds bad. It sounds bad. Anyways, Ryle's up on this roof. Ew. He sounds like a toddler, like a very rude toddler. And you know what? He's acting like a rude toddler as well, because he is kicking chairs up there. And she's like, whoa, he's so hot. And it's like the first moment you met him, he's like beating inanimate objects up. Like, this is... But they both reveal some stuff about their lives. She like reveals that there was this guy Atlas that was homeless that she kind of fell in love with, or like she lost her virginity to. So I don't know. His name's on the back of the book. I didn't really read the back of the book, but I have a good feeling that he's gonna, he's a part of the story, and like something that happened to him most likely. Oh my God. This makes so much sense. Like, this book, it's like this weird genre, a romance, but like it's extremely abusive. So it's like, would you even call that romantic, or is that just like some sort of fiction drama sort of thing? I mean, I hope there's some other element of romance, if that's why we're going to be calling it romance, because I think it's kind of inappropriate to call something a romance when it is outstandingly abusive and toxic. But speaking of abusive and toxic, we have Anna Todd has written a blurb on the back of this book. It ends with us as a brave and heartwarming novel that digs its claws into you and doesn't let go. No one delivers an emotional read like Colleen Hoover. Colleen Hoover. I'm excited to see what's going on. It sounds like I'm talking a lot of shit about this book, and yeah, I have opinions. What are you gonna do about it, and what am I gonna do about it? Nothing. I will speak into my camera and post it on the internet. So can't wait to tell you more about what I think about this book. Bye. Okay, so I'm about 100 pages into It Ends With Us. I was going to say It's All For Us. That's not even close to the correct name of this book. So the abusive part, because I'm like, I feel like that's what I have to address, because I keep being like, what is this, It seems to primarily be about Lily's parents. Like, her dad was very abusive, but I don't like how it opens up with Ryle kicking a chair, and she's like beating a chair up and showing his aggression like that. And that's how they start. I don't know. It just seems a little weird to me, to have your first interaction be him like beating a chair up and like being extremely like aggro at this chair. We will see how that goes. So far with the story, it follows both Lily in the present day and Lily when she's a teenager, it's like her diary that she wrote to Ellen DeGeneres. Well, all the letters are like addressed to Ellen DeGeneres, so it feels like it's not a diary for her when she was writing it. And it's like her first kind of love or relationship with this guy Atlas, which he's like a homeless teenager. And I am far more enjoying that backstory than I am the present day story. I do like that Lily is creating relationships and that aren't just friendships. Like, she's becoming friends with the woman who turns out to be Ryle's sister, and they're creating an actual bond. So it's not all just like romance, which I love romance, but I also appreciate other relationships being formed or having like some sort of, it's not all about a man sort of thing in my romance. Other than that, that is just about what's been going on. She's like kind of talking to Ryle. Like, Ryle's like, I can't stop thinking about you, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I'm not really feeling him. I'm excited for a pot to be stirred, and stirring of a pot. I just found some glasses that only have, oh my God, these are prescription. Oh wow, I cannot, oh my God, those are not my glasses. Okay. Wow, that hurt my head. I've just been sitting outside in the sun reading this book. My face hasn't even seen the sun. I've been like on my stomach, like this. Like the sun's behind me, so like I don't know, a little rosy. Yeah, I'm gonna go back to that, and hopefully I will get back to you about how I'm feeling about this book. It really has been drawing me in. I haven't been a fast reader these days, so we'll see what happens, especially since I've decided to read 3 books. I don't know which book I'm going to read next yet. Should I go for Ugly Love or for Verity? Because I'm like, I know Verity's the fan favorite. Maybe I should go for the fan favorite. So then I'll be like, maybe I'll be like a Colleen Hoover fan by then. Because I'm only 100 pages in to this one. So who knows if I'll be a Colleen Hoover fan by friend. I'll get back to you maybe around page like 200 or something. Tell you how I'm feeling. Yeah. Oh God, there's an epilogue in this book. I just saw that. I don't like epilogues. Well, cheers to hoping that she ends up with not Ryle. So here we go. Okay, it's pretty late, and bad lighting. Also, I'm holding my book. But I'm like 240, 250 pages into It Ends With Us. And wow. Wow. This is quite the saga. I've been getting kind of annoyed by the first person present tense narrative, but at the same time, it's like I kind of get it, because if it was past tense and her like looking back or something like that, you couldn't get the same excuses about abuse that are happening. Ooh, where'd they go? Hello? You couldn't get the same excuses about abuse that are happening in the present tense, because she's like trying to make up why this is happening. Yeah. And you know what? I feel like from the moment you start this book that Ryle, the worst name ever, Ryle, Kyle with an R. Let's take the K away and make it Ryle with an R. Every time firstly, she probably gave him an unlikable name because he's unlikable. And from the first moment you see him, he is like beating up patio furniture, and now he has an excuse for why he's an angry person. He's angry because he had bad thing happen to him. Well, I'm sorry. And therapy doesn't work. Well, maybe you shouldn't be with anyone. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. If you're going to be, like abusing people, it should just be a no. Like, maybe you should be alone for the rest of your life. If you black out in rage and hit people, like, no excuse. You can't be like, something happened to me, so therefore it's okay for me to be abusive. I don't know. It doesn't feel like she's like glorifying abuse at all either. Like, I don't feel like Colleen Hoover's glorifying abuse. I think it's like showing, because you think to yourself, and as like Lily's thinking to herself, how does someone end up in this situation? And how, like, why don't you just step away? And it's kind of the story of how someone doesn't step away, and how someone can manipulate you into believing that abuse is like either your fault or something that that's like, well, you know what, there's an excuse for it. There's an excuse for everything, So I don't know. I like this book is a freaking roller coaster. It's a fucking roller coaster. And I just, want Atlas. I don't know where I left off with you before, and I think, I don't know, they say it in the back that when Atlas suddenly reappears, everything Lily has built with Ryle is threatened. So obviously, like, if you've read the back, you know Atlas comes back. And it's just this, like, obvious match, you know? It's someone who has gone through the same things as her, that she has a past with, that, like, really did build who they are as people, and is there for her and cares about her, and would never do anything like that to her. So it's like so annoying. Like, I know that's the happily ever after right there. This is romance. It should have a happily ever after, and Atlas would be it. So those are my 2 cents on where I am right now, because I was like, I should probably update you before I just go reading more of this book. Bing! Before I go reading more of this book and finishing it, and then never telling you until the end. So you're getting a 3/4, 2/3? 2/3 take. I'll see you in the next clip. I will have finished the book, unless something, I don't think I'm gonna, I mean, there's something crazy happening every 5 pages, so there's no way I'm gonna pick this camera up again before it ends, because I'm like, I would be talking about everything. It's like every 5 pages there's something insane happening, and I'm just like, how are these things still happening? I don't know. Oh my god. She's not talking to Ellen DeGeneres anymore, because that was a whole thing for a while. I should probably have brought up, but okay. I'll talk to you later. The good old fashioned, I can fix you. I can fix you. Yeah, buddy, I don't know about that. It's really late. It's a Sunday. That doesn't really matter, because I've never told you the day in this. I just finished reading It Ends With Us. Final conclusion. It is definitely a 4-star book. I feel like I want to rate it 5 stars in the end, because wow, it really hit me. Like, I was crying so hard that I couldn't read the pages. Like, I couldn't read the words at the end. But at the same time, I think there were so many things that kind of aggravated me in the book. But at the same time, I don't know if it's like I was supposed to be aggravated by them. I think in the end, what I get from this is Colleen Hoover wrote a book that is meant to not explain, but kind of make sense to people. Why do people stay in abusive relationships? And because looking back, it's like, I feel like I've been one to, and probably many other people have been one to, look at someone who stays as being like, why don't they just leave? Why don't they just pick up everything and go? Especially if, like, say they don't have kids or something. And it's like, it's not that easy. And it's when you really love someone, how, like, the things that your brain has to do, you know? And what you have to go through, and the explaining you do to yourself, and the apologies, and the all changes, and all of that. And it gets harder and harder as you stay. And I think that in the end, this book is like, I think it is well done. There are, I feel like, some issues with it that I have, that I think it just, like, I think the way that it infuriated me at points gives it the knockdown of stars. I would give it like a 4.5, because I'm like, I don't think it was like a perfect book. But at the same time, I do think that it was amazing. I don't think that it should be categorized as a romance book, you know, more like a general fiction, or just a general contemporary. And I don't know. It's definitely a trigger warning heavy book. There are a lot of things that happen in this book that are just like, dang. Because a lot of this comes from Colleen Hoover's, like, actual life, having to do with her mom and dad's relationship. And I think that was pretty interesting. So she actually says in the afterwards, she usually writes books for entertainment, but this one wasn't for entertainment. This one was for people to learn something, to hear someone's voice, someone's story, and stuff like that. And I just think that was like very moving to hear that. So maybe this is an interesting one to start with. We're reading Ugly Love. Hopefully I like it. I don't know that much about Ugly Love. That's why I'm like, but maybe we'll save one of the really big ones for last. I mean, I feel like a lot of people talk about Ugly Love too. Or I see it around. I'll hold it up. That's the book we're going to read next. My cat's pawing at the door. Gotta go. I just finished... What am I talking about? I just started Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover, as you know. This is a Colleen Hoover blog. Or not quite a blog, but whatever the fuck this is. Where I read books and talk about them as I'm reading, but you don't see anything of my life. I just finished the first 2 chapters so that I could at least give a little bit of a informed, like, where I don't know what this book's about. There are pilots in it. It's water. Oh my God, someone's plane crashes. Pilots, water. Someone's plane gonna crash. You're gonna die. Someone's gonna die. Anyways, we don't know that yet unless you've read this book. Then you would know that. And later I will know that. But anyways, we're following a lady named Tate. Wow, Colleen Hoover can really pick a name. Really pick a name. And some guy named Archer, I think he must be a pilot. Sorry, Miles Archer. Which, just bad names. Like, Miles when you're pilot, like airline Miles, like kind of questionable. Archer, like bow and arrow, and the arrow is like the plane. I don't know, everything's kind of pointing back to his career, which is a little strange. At least I think he's a pilot. Anyways, I haven't told you anything about this book. So the book starts with Tate has just moved across the state of California. Shouldn't move that. Anyways, now I guess it is pretty far from San Diego to San Francisco. So she moves to San Francisco. And she is moving in with her brother because she just broke up with her boyfriend, since she is trying to be more career driven and he's more, I want my wife in the kitchen, you know? So she's like, yeah, I kind of want a career, dude. So she decides to up and move to San Francisco, where she's going to become an RN, like a registered nurse. She's probably a nurse right now. And she gets to her brother's apartment, and there's this whole, like, anyways, there's this guy sleeping outside of his apartment, like right on the door. And she can't get past him, and she's like, oh no, like, you know, I would be too. I'd be like, why is there a man sleeping right there on that door? Really anyone. Yeah. I don't care if I don't know who you are and you're sleeping on a door I'm trying to get into. It's a little weird. So anyways, she gets past him. It turns out that's Miles. Oh my God. And he's super drunk. And her brother is not in town. He's getting back the next day. So that's kind of where we start off with her, is like, she's like getting this drunk man into her new / her brother's apartment. And he's like murmuring something about Rachel, which, funny, my name's Rachel, but he's like, Rachel, I didn't mean you hate me. And that's exactly how he sings it, you know? And she's like, wow, whatever you did to Rachel, it's gotta be really bad. Yeah. I'm Rachel. So I'm just a little rude of him. But then it goes back to, they're like probably in their mid-20s, these two, or like early to mid-20s. Colleen Hoover likes to have very successful early 20s characters, like people who are very in their career and like doing it good when they're 23 and just out of college. That's what I'm starting to see. I'm like, I'm sorry. I was a piece of shit at 23. Or not a piece of shit, but like, I was, come on. Get with the generation, Colleen Hoover. We're living in our parents' houses still. At 23, at least. Then we go to Miles, and it's Miles in a senior year of high school, and there's a new girl, and it turns out to be Rachel. And he is like, I'm in love. I am in love with Rachel. He sings that. That's when you love someone named Rachel, that's what you sing. We'll see what happens there. I will probably not be giving you too much about exactly what's going on, but at least if you haven't read this book, then you kind of know who the characters I'll be talking about are. Oh, her brother's name's Corbin. Rachel's a normal name. I mean, Miles is also normal. It's just in context. It's, just choose like a Jane, you know, something. Elizabeth. Something like that. You know, John. How about a John? I'd love to see a John in one of these books. Maybe a Paul. Love a Paul. I'd be all for a James. Like, give me one James and I'll be fucking happy, you know. I will be very happy if there's an Alex that can be a girl or a boy or non-binary because we're gender inclusive. It just, I don't know. Jack, we like that name. Anyways, now I'm just listing names for you. Ugly love. There's gonna be a plane crash in this book. I'll get back to you when I'm like 100 pages in. This is like a 300-page novel, so I'll probably check back 100 pages, 200, and then when I finish. I don't know how soon it'll be. I should mention, they keep talking about people's eye colors. It's been over a page to 2 pages about eye color, and it's like as bad as talking about dreams. I don't care. I don't care. Caribbean blue eyes. His eyes are like the trees. I don't care. Eye color is unimportant. Yeah, it's almost as bad as talking about dreams, but another time. Okay, so I am back to talk about Ugly Love. Can you see me? I'm here to talk about Ugly Love again. Okay, so I just got to page 100. It took a little longer than I expected because I was reading a graphic novel, very long, or manga. It was very long. So Ugly Love, 100 pages in. You know, it's like I go between being intrigued and being a little bit bored. I don't particularly love the characters. I think there is kind of an interesting story brewing, but it's almost like you're following 2 timelines and they're very much so similar. But because it's like both of them involve Miles. So it's kind of funny. It feels like Tate's the main character, the girl in the like present timeline. But Miles is the one that's in the entire story. We're still trying to find out what happened to Miles. Obviously it's not going to happen until the end. I hear there's a really big twist, but I don't know. It's like the same thing. Like, 2 people start dating, or like start kind of seeing each other. There's my cat. but they shouldn't be, like, ooh, bad. In the present timeline, they're starting to sleep together, but they're like, we can't date, like, we're too busy. And also, Miles has a tragic past. And then in the past timeline, they can't date because Miles and the girl Rachel, their parents are seeing each other. Editing Rachel real quick. Okay, so I'm going to explain that these two characters are step siblings, but the thing is, they met each other a couple weeks ago. So it is not like they did not grow up together. I don't think I explained that very well. They didn't grow up together. They were not raised together. They're 17 years old, and they met before their parents even like said, oh, we're dating. You know what I mean? It turns out that their parents have been together long distance secretly for the past like year, but these two kids, like 17-year-old teenagers, did not know each other. And then they met, and then they found out that their parents are together. Okay. It's like stupid. I don't know. So they're like, oh, we can't be together long, They're both like gonna be 18 soon and be out of the house, and if they really liked each other, they could definitely date. Like, they make it seem like they can never have a future together. I just think that's a little ridiculous. My cat is just yelling at me. I don't know. The whole thing's a little weird. So basically, I guess we're going to have to wait and see how this book's going. I hope it speeds up a little bit. I don't know. Does Colleen Hoover just write people that I'm not particularly interested in? I guess I was interested in Atlas in the last book. I feel like he had kind of a more gripping story. Sorry, I just ran off. Sorry. Anyways, so we'll see how it goes and whether I start liking these characters. The story might get more interesting, I hope. I feel like it's created conflict, especially with us not knowing what the whole Rachel situation is. So it's like almost unbelievable that Miles is unable to date anyone. Did I say that was an issue? That's the issue. It just seems a little silly to me. So we'll see what goes on there. I am towards the end. I was having such a hard time with this book. I just could not get into it. And I think I was about 100 pages in when I just said, fuck it, I'm listening to the audiobook. I'm going to finish it. I'm almost done now that I've been listening to the audiobook. Unlikable characters. I don't care about anyone in this book. And it's like this whole thing oh, there have to be rules. And she, the Tate is I'm in love with Miles. And you're like, I don't know why I looked at my door. Anyways, you're like, you are not in love with Miles. When has there been an exchange between the two where they've spoken about anything other than how they're going to proceed and whether or not they're dating? I mean, obviously it's the not dating, but what they're doing with that and the rules, and then they have sex a lot. And I'm like, that's everything your relationship's made up of. So I don't really think you're not in love, There's no love here. I don't know. And Miles's backstory, I'm still okay, where did you fuck up so hard that you can never be with anyone again in your life? But also, can you please tell me why they love each other? Tate and Miles, I mean, according to Miles, he's I will never love her. She's so gross. And Tate's he'll never love me. And you're like, yeah, but Tate, do you love him? You keep saying you do, but showing and telling are two different things. I don't believe it. Yeah, so intrigue in this book, not so much. So I will finish this one probably today, and then I will let you know what I think about it. And we'll move on to Verity, which I hope, I feel like it's going to be better because everyone loves Verity. So, I don't know. And I did enjoy It Ends With Us. And everyone loves It Ends With Us. So, maybe Colleen Hoover's hit and a miss for me. We'll see. I hear there's a crazy twist. It's right now looking like a 2, but maybe it'll move to a 3. If that twist is good enough. You know what, actually? It has to be really good to be a 3. It has to change my life. I finished the book, and it surprised me. It's a 4. I'm kidding. It's not a 4. It's a 2. It's 2 stars for me. I did not like it. It did not surprise me. I mean, I was mildly surprised. I mean, I understand more about some of the choices they made, It was a twist, but at the same time I was like, dude, maybe I'm the wrong audience to understand that sort of trauma, but I don't think anyone wants you to suffer like that. That's a choice. It seemed like he was choosing, not he couldn't do it because I don't I'm being judgy. I don't know trauma like that, so I don't think I'm the audience to per se understand it. Anyways, that one was not for me. So at least we had one that I did like, and the second one that I was in no way liked. It didn't get a 1, okay? At least a 1 has to be offensive. 2 it's okay. It was a fine read. I could see people liking it. It's just not me. I have to hate a book for it to be a 1. I didn't hate this book. It was fine. It was just a little dull or boring, or I didn't believe the romance. I don't really care about it. I didn't believe it. It wasn't for me. Next up is Verity by Colleen Hoover. I don't know what this book is about. I did start this a month ago. It was whenever I started this fall. I started it and I didn't finish it because I was already started It Ends With Us, and I was like, I don't want to be reading 2 at the same time, confusing myself. The first sentence is kind of gory. I hear the crack of his skull before the splattering of blood reaches me. I read that and I was like, whoa. And then I read the first couple pages and I was like, whoa, I can see why people are kind of dragged into it. So I feel like I'm going to start this and just go right through it, So we shall see if it's a hit or a miss with Colleen Hoover, take it or leave it. We'll see. I finished the first chapter of Verity and went into chapter 2 because the first chapter was really short. Anyways, so it follows, yes, there's a traumatic scene in the beginning where she sees someone die from a hit and run on the streets of New York City. It was a big opener. It was whoa there, buddy. What's going on in this book? Did I already say that exact same line earlier? Anyways, so sorry. Can I just move the camera down? Yeah, we're gonna do that. I'm lazy. Okay, I'm about to leave my house, but I was like, I know I'm gonna read a little more, so I might as well tell you about it. So in Verity, we're starting out, she's a writer, she's kind of reclusive, her mother just passed away, and she has her editor, who she used to be in a relationship with, is like, we have to meet, blah, blah, blah. Or not her editor, it's her agent, sorry, her literary agent. So she goes and meets up with him. That's what she's on her way for, is a meeting at this publishing house. And she's about to find out what's going on there. And it turns out that this author, as long as she signs this disclosure form, this author named something Verity something, Con was, I can't remember. Anyways, I just read this. So Verity Conrad, something like that. It got in some sort of an accident and they need her series finished. She's not dead, but they need this woman, Lowen, something like that. It's a really ridiculous name. Verity and Lowen, like, come on. I think that's her name, Lowen. Colleen Hoover, come on. One of the main characters' names, though, is Jeremy. That's quite a normal name, and it is okay. It is sufficient name. But Lowen and Verity, like, I'm just going to keep saying, come on. Yeah, we're going to find out what goes on there. I feel like it's weird. Oh, because it turns out that the guy she was next to that helped her out after the person's blood splattered on her on the hit and run turns out to be Verity's husband. And he's the one that's coming to the meeting to set up Lowen, our main character, being the ghostwriter, or like she's gonna be like a writing team with Verity, but really she's gonna be writing the whole thing because Verity can't. I don't know. I didn't finish the chapter. It is interesting as well. She's writing in first person, and she wrote in first person as well for Ugly Love, but she didn't write in first person for It Ends With Us. And I think she didn't write in first person for It Ends With Us because it was such a tragic book, and maybe it was hard to write in the first person and to really be inside of our main character's head in that one. I was just thinking about that. I don't know. I'll get back to you later about Verity, though. I am over 100 pages through Verity, so that is about 1/3 of the way. I'm gonna show you. I am really enjoying it so far. It really pulls you in, and I feel like after having already read 2 of her other books, one of which I really liked, one of which I didn't like, this one is definitely, it's interesting to see. I know that she comes from a background of romance, and this is definitely not a romance book, but when you go on Goodreads to this actual title and the way people have categorized it, it says thriller and then romance, and I'm like, you really get pigeonholed, as an author when you've written so many romances and that's like your genre. You automatically are a romance author, even though if anyone else wrote this book, it would not be romance. Like, this is suspenseful. It's a thriller. Lowen, the person that we're following, has gone to stay with Jeremy, Verity's husband, and Verity, who is basically catatonic, I guess you would call it. She's in bed, unable to speak, unable to move. They have not a live-in nurse, but a nurse that comes every day to help her. It's creepy. Lowen has experienced a number of things that are kind of like, wait a second, what's going on with Verity? Did she move? Like, blah, blah, blah. But in that sort of situation, I think most people would think that someone moved. But it's like kind of a creepy house, and there's so much tragedy surrounding this family that you feel that tension within the book and within the house. So Colleen Hoover, so far, and now this is the 3rd book I've read, has each of these books have followed 2 perspectives, and it's not in the same timeline either. So it's usually you have your primary perspective, which is in the present day, and then you have another perspective in the past. Like, they've all been in the past. The first one, It Ends With Us, followed the same person, their past and present, and then Ugly Love followed 2 separate characters, and this one is now following 2 separate characters as well. We have Lowen in the present, who we're primarily following, and then a little bit into the book, maybe like, I don't know, like 60 pages or so, Lowen finds, when she's going through Verity's office so that she can get all the material she needs in order to finish the series, finds a manuscript of Verity's autobiography. So we're getting to read that and see, like, who is Verity? What is her background? What, like where did she come from? How does she think? What is her voice? Even though we have this character who can't say anything, we're still getting her perspective. And it seems like it's going to be pretty weird. It is like, like her autobiography. I mean, it's fiction. So anyways, her autobiography goes right into it, you know? She is like full on sex scene, second page. And I'm like, I have never read an autobiography like that. So if you have any suggestions, I'm kidding. I'm not big on autobiographies, but still, it's kind of wild. So we'll see how that goes. And I will be back to tell you about Verity. Okay, so my 200 pages into Verity. And I didn't want to film this clip because I wanted to go read it. I am really enjoying this. I feel like I know what's going to happen, but at the same time, because I think it was spoiled for me, but I feel like you have the feeling at this point anyone would kind of know what's going to happen, or I don't know, but I still feel like there's an element of surprise. I'm creeped out. It's scary. It's weird. It's definitely a thriller. Very strange that the back says it's a standalone romantic thriller. And I'm like, why would you market it that way? Where is the romance? Can someone please comment below and tell me where the romance is? Because it's such a light amount, like, sex has happened. It's a light amount of, like, attraction between two people, but I don't really, like, that is not the point of this book. It doesn't feel like the point of this book. Like, it's kind of a domestic thriller, but that doesn't make it a romantic thriller, necessarily. I don't understand. I don't know. Anyways, I'll get back to you when I finish it. Because I just, like, I can't even say anything. I can't even say anything. I just, so much is happening. There's so much tension. She's doing a great job. Tell me what other Colleen Hoover books are like Verity. I mean, I understand now why everyone was talking about this book. I'm really enjoying it. This was really good. Yeah. Okay. So I'll tell you what I think once I finish it. Probably tonight. I have finally finished. Hit myself in the face. Verity. I really, really liked it. It's funny. I went and read the Goodreads reviews from certain people, and I was seeing a lot of low reviews and a lot of high reviews. I thought it was good if you just thought of it as a thriller. I don't know if that was the issue with it. It was really strange and just a weird, thrilling, strange book. Would not call it a romance. I see where the thriller romance is coming from by the end, but I don't totally agree with that. But I really enjoyed it. I ended up giving it 4 stars because I did have some problems with how it ended, like how it wrapped up and how it was like twist. And then the second twist, if you've read it, it's kind of like, okay, it's a lot of explaining happening here. I do really like where it went, but at the same time, way too much explanation for my whatever. It was just, but that's what knocked it down for me, was like, let's really slam this into you. This is what I meant. And this is what happened. Like, stop. But overall, I like the the dual perspectives. I like the fact that we were like walking through this whole thing. I just overall, let's switch into my wrap up of the actual thing. Colleen Hoover. I read all 3 of these books, as you would know. This was probably really long. I started editing and I was like, wow, I've put a lot in this and you're not even seeing what I'm up to. It ends with us. Great start to this one. Every one of these is totally different, you know? Like this felt more like contemporary fiction, and this one was more of a thriller, and this one was like just a romance. I liked 2. I didn't like 1. Maybe I don't like traditional. Is this a traditional romance? I really don't know. Like I read romances, yes. Like I've read Red, White, and Royal Blue. I loved it. I read all the Brown Sister trilogy. I loved it. Love Hypothesis. I loved it. Maybe that's more traditional contemporary. And this is more of like that grittier love, you know, like the bad love, ugly love. But overall, take it or leave it on Colleen Hoover. I would take it as long as it's one of her untraditional books, her less traditional books. I think maybe that's my key into this, is as long as it's not the usual. Well, thanks for sitting with me and going through this. I enjoyed being here. Let me know what your favorite Colleen Hoover is, or if you enjoyed any of these or hated any of these. Okay, thank you. Bye.